Welcome to Refrag. So today we'll be spending time with ELiGE and going through all of the CS2 weapons. And basically what we're going to do is figuring out which of them is trash and which of them is great for competitive tier. In addition, we'll of course be putting them in a tier list, ranking them from S to D tier. Let's go. But it does start off with a bang, and the first one is the AK-47.
Yeah.
Which I think everyone that plays Counter-Strike, of course, already knows about this gun and what makes it special. What do you think it should be in?
Yeah, I mean, the AK
tier-wise?
is S tier, of course. Definitely the best gun in the game. Well, best rifle.
Figured.
Just a gun that everyone knows that it should be there. It's the one that you're going to pick up every single time unless you want to op on both sides.
I'd have to say that the spray control of the AK is hard to deal with for, at least at my level still. I don't know many people who can really deal with the spray as much. Barring that, it's still insane, right?
Yeah, I think that it's a little bit harder to control compared to the A1S, for example, but I still think that most people are going to want to pick up the AK, especially if they want to get tap headshots or anything like that, because it's definitely very satisfying.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, that one we don't have to say too much about. I think it's just an instant S tier.
Yeah.
The AUG is one I actually don't know too much about. I haven't used it very often. I'm sure you have a lot more because there was a meta period where the AUG was used a lot, right?
Yeah, so the AUG used to be the S tier back in the day, but now it's still really good. And I would say that the AUG is probably A tier. I'm not going to pick the AUG most of the time over A1 or A4, but it's still really, really good. And it has a niche use, really, really strong. It's just a little bit expensive compared to A1 or the A4, especially when the CT economy kind of sucks right now. The spray control is really easy, but the A1S spray control is just easier. And I think most people, you're not really going to get too much of a benefit out of using the scope, except for very niche situations, which it is very good for.
When would you use the AUG over like an A1S or an A4?
I think it's purely just positional based. If you are using a super long range spot where it's going to be beneficial to have that scope, but most of the time, except for a couple rolls on certain maps, you're usually not going to see it too much.
Okay, that's fair. The next one, again, another iconic weapon. I don't think anyone that plays CS for any considerable amount of time does not know about the AWP.
Yeah, I mean, it's S tier.
So I would say it instantly goes into an S tier, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's completely broken and it's definitely S tier.
Would you say it's still broken after all the nerfs that they've made to it?
Well, I say that just like kind of like as a joke a little bit. It's just the AWP is like one shot, one kill. You only have to hit him one time, but obviously it's really, really strong.
Would you put it above the AK or do you think it's below it?
I think the AWP is better than the AK. I mean, it's the gun that you're usually going to pick up for people. It's also like more expensive and everything.
That is true. It's hard to complain about a one-shot body shot from any range. So here's one that's rather controversial. I remember back in the day, there was a period where everyone used the CZ, stand around the corner, and you would get a kill, grab the AK from the opponent, and then continue playing the game as normal. From what I understood, Valve nerfed the heck out of that. But do you think the CZ is still a viable weapon at all?
The CZ is still viable. I still have it on my loadout, but compared to the other pistols, it's not really as good. I would probably put it in the C tier just because there's better.
C tier.
Just because the 5.7 honestly is just kind of better, and the kill reward's only 100. It's usually just kind of a one and done, maybe 2 or 3 if you're really crazy and you have a really sick round. But the 5.7 can just kind of do what it does better.
So when would you buy the CZ actually?
Well, actually, the thing is now like the Zeus is a thing. I don't know. Maybe the CZ is even worse. Maybe the CZ is actually a D tier. Yeah, let's swap it to D tier instead.
Put it in the D tier even.
Yeah, if I'm comparing it to all the other pistols, all of its counterparts, they just kind of do it better.
Okay, then to another classic, the Deagle. I, for the life of me, cannot get headshots with this gun, I'll be honest. But I think it's a lot easier for someone like you.
Well, comparing to like all the other pistols, I would probably want to have a Deagle over most of them, but not in every situation. So I'll say like an A tier because it's not something that I would want every time. Even when I'm low money, like sometimes I'll just want a Tech 9 instead on T side. If I'm like 16K, there's no way that I'm gonna run out of money. I'm gonna do a Tech 9 probably.
When would you buy a Deagle then?
You're mainly gonna buy the Deagle on eco rounds or if you have to force. And it's also kind of just dependent on what the strategy is. On T side, you're gonna do something more like work picks. Then like you're gonna pick and choose between the Tech 9 and the Deagle. And then for CT side, most of the time I like having a Deagle, but I think that's also kind of stylistic.
The next one is one that I've had many conversations with players. I know players that love the Dualies, and I know people that absolutely hate them.
Yeah.
What's your opinion on them?
I mean, the Dualies are really, really strong, actually. It's something that's been super meta for the last year and a half, maybe, in pistol rounds where you drop Dualies. So I'll probably put it to B tier. I mean, obviously, it's not better in most situations than probably a Deagle or 5.7, but it's really, really strong. People just single-handedly will win CT pistol rounds because of it.
Would you say it's more of a pistol round only type of weapon?
Yeah, it's pretty much pistol round only. I mean, sometimes people just will buy it in forced rounds, but I still don't really see the point. We were kind of doing some testing with it, and I think it's better than you'd probably expect because we're going to compare it to the P250. If you're going to buy it in a forced round, you're deciding whether you're going to have a P250 or Dualies, and the Dualies actually do a lot of damage if you're really up close.
Oh, wow.
But I think the P250 is better in more situations.
The Famas is a gun that, in my experience, I actively try to avoid, but I have to buy it way too often as CT because of the financial situation.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how you deal with it. Is it the same thing or?
I mean, I think that it's really good. I think that it's super underrated. I'll probably put it to B tier just because I think it's very underrated compared to what people think about it.
Wow, a B tier even. Any specific reasons that you think it's underrated?
Yeah, I think that people just don't practice with it, so they don't like it. Even though it's a really hard spray control, you have to actually practice that. And if you don't practice with it, then you're obviously gonna have a harder time controlling it. And because you can't just like dink and then body shot like you can with an M4, for example, then you're gonna have to spray a little bit more compared to the Famas with the other guns. So I think that people kind of just give it a bad rep because they don't really practice with it. But the Famas will single-handedly win you a force round. If you have to play a long range type of duel in the low economy type of gun round, then I think it's really strong.
Wow. Okay, that's crazy. Did not expect it to be that good in your opinion.
Yeah, I think it's really good.
Next one, the 5.7. We already talked about it a moment ago, a little bit, comparing it to the other pistols. In my opinion, and from at least the ranking I'm playing at, the 5.7 is such a overpowered gun. Like I win mid-range fights with it. I win close-range fights with it. It's insane.
Yeah, I'd say it's A tier, right behind the Deagle, because I think the 5.7 is super, super strong. It's only 500. It's actually probably better than the Deagle in a lot of situations as well. But I think the Deagle is I think the Deagle is stronger, but the 5.7, I think people don't really see how strong it is. It can literally one-shot from super close range, which is how you'd be playing those types of rounds anyway.
When would you buy a 5.7?
You're mainly going to be buying it on eco rounds or force rounds. Even on eco rounds, if you can't buy armor, then you'll probably just buy Deagle instead. You're just going to use the Deagle more often than you would the 5.7. But the 5.7, it's really, really strong if you can afford armor.
The Galil, this is one where, if I speak from my experience, I end up buying way too often, but also just because it's so cheap and there are enough times where if you've killed the CT multiple times, the same player, they just won't buy head armor.
Yeah.
And that makes the Galil just extra strong, right?
I would say it's A tier, probably behind everything that we have right now. I think that just for the cost of it and how strong it is, the recoil is super easy. It's pretty much the same strength as like an M4. It's pretty much the reason why the T economy is so OP right now.
As much as you say the spray is easy, I have whiffed so many times with that thing because I've just...
Yeah, I mean, it's not easier than the M4, but I mean, it's way cheaper, so it makes sense.
Yeah, fair enough. The Glock, I tend to buy a Tech 9 during pistol rounds, so most of my experience with the Glock is if I end up whiffing a spray, having no bullets in my gun, I switch to the Glock and I tap someone twice in the chest and it does like 24 damage.
Yeah.
So I am not a big fan of it, but I'm not sure how you look at it.
I'll probably put the Glock to B tier.
B tier, okay. Wow.
So I'll have to compare it to other pistols, and if I was to compare it on pistol round for T side, I think that the P250 is better than the Glock. I think the USP and the P2K obviously like better than the Glock.
Yeah.
But the Glock is really, really good comparing to like the other pistols. And if you compare it to 1.6 Glock, for example, then the accuracy is so much better in CS2 and CSGO, where you can just hit the first bullet headshot way more often than you'd expect, especially when you're running.
Would you say it's better to just buy a bunch of utility or armor or something and go with the Glock instead of going for a different pistol for pistol rounds?
Yeah, for most pro teams, you're not really going to see people buy a pistol on T side on pistol round besides buying a P250, just because the Glock is really, really strong. And then you'd only buy a P250 if you're trying to do a pistol where you're working the map a little bit because it's a one-shot headshot.
Okay, wow. You have a better opinion of the Glock than I do, I'll have to admit. Now, here's one I never used.
Yeah, this one's D tier.
What is this, G?
Yeah, this is the T auto sniper. This one's definitely D tier. There's literally zero reason that you'd ever want to use it, except if you have a spam. Sometimes there's a spam. If you have 16K on cash, for example, there was the spam in T spawn, or on ancient, there's actually a spam that you can do with a boost that you can spam the guys coming out of the window. So there's super, super niche cases, but it's a pretty crap gun.
Fair enough. How would you compare that to the Scar or CT? Because the Scar was used a couple times, at least in pro games.
I'd say the Scar is slightly better. I'd say it's C tier for this. For the Scar, yeah. Because there's actually some situations where you'd want to use the Scar. Some different spots. I think it's a little bit underrated where people think Scar is like mega crap tier, but I think that it's not that bad. It's just when you're comparing it to the op, most of the time you're just going to want an op.
Why would you think it's better than the T-side auto sniper? Is it really just because of how you position yourself in the map?
Yeah, it's just positioning because CT side, you're obviously the defense and you're going to be holding an angle. Whereas with the T auto sniper, you're not already posted on things where people you're going to fight most of the time. So it's easier to lock down spots with the CT side auto sniper compared to the the T1.
Here's a unique one that I've seen a lot of people use it when I wouldn't necessarily, but you know, the knife. How would you rate this?
I mean, I don't really know how to rate the knife, honestly. I feel like kind of arbitrary, so I'll just say C tier because
C tier, okay.
I mean, I don't know, 1500 reward bonus. Why not?
That is fair. Would you risk it if you get an opponent from behind and he's not turning around and he's like a little bit further away to sneak up and knife him?
Yeah, if you can't guarantee that you're gonna 2-shot headshot. For example, with the Glock, you'd have to 3-shot headshot. But the knife also makes you run faster.
People in, at least my ratings, sometimes they shoot into their magazine and end up running after someone with a knife, and it's, well, something. Yeah. Anyways, this is, of course, the main gun used by the CT side for most people, from what I understand. I love them for A1S. What do you think about it?
It's definitely S tier. I mean, you could do the A4. You could just put it to S tier as well. It's just the best rifle on CT side that you can get both of them. The A1 is slightly better just because of the economy advantage of it, because you're always just so on the back foot with economy. But the A4 is technically a better weapon. You're going to see most people buy A1 instead of the A4 right now because, one, the A1 spray pattern is just easier. That $200 actually does make a difference, especially at the pro level.
Yeah. How often do you find yourself using the A1S and then say there's an execute and they run out with a bunch of players and you just don't have enough bullets? Does that happen often enough where you think you should buy the A4 more often?
No, not really. The times where you're gonna kill 4 guys with your A1 and you're doing a full spray, you just so happen to have a couple bullets, is really rare. If the economy was a little bit better, then the A4 would be above the A1.
Now here's a big meme gun, the M249. I have never used this except to meme on people.
Yeah, D tier for sure.
Have you?
I mean, the thing is, it's just a worse version of the old Negev. It's still so lame that they ruined the old Negev. When it was 5750, it was a better AK. They should literally just make the M249 what the old Negev was.
Everyone I know uses this one basically right now on the T side, the Mac 10.
So I'll put both the Mac 10 and the MP9 into S tier. I think that they're both the S tier SMGs.
Wow.
They're just so good for the price. 600 bonus for getting kills. Really strong. Even mid-range, you can get kills with it. You can jump and kill with it. Definitely the best SMGs for the tier.
And on to the next one. This is the Mag 7. A lot of my friends love this gun. I do not like it.
Yeah, so I'll do 2 in 1 with this again. So I'll do Mag 7 as B tier and Nova as C tier because we're going to be comparing both of them. And I think the Mag 7 is obviously a little bit better. I think both of them can randomly just not kill even when you're really close. So it's really annoying when that happens. But the Mag 7 is slightly more expensive. I think that they're both really powerful shotguns, especially for the price.
The next one is then the MP5. From what I remember, this is the only silence gun the T-side can buy, which is why some T-side players use it. Do you think that unique feature is good enough to warrant buying a MP5?
Nah, it's pretty crap. MP5 is MP5 and MP7. You can just put them both to C tier. I think they're just like whatever. There's like pretty much no reason to use them. When you have a gun that's less expensive that does their job better, you're just never going to use it. But they're not that bad. You can still kill people with it, and the accuracy from mid-range is slightly better than the S tier guns, but you pretty much never want to use it.
So the Negev, it's a favorite of mine. I don't use it very often, but it's such an easy to control recoil and very cheap. But I've heard varied opinions on it, from it being one of the most fun weapons to use to the most trash.
I actually think it has potential. It sounds kind of troll, but I'll put it to C tier because it's obviously better than M249. And I actually do think that you can have some niche scenarios where you can use it. Actually, no, just put it to D tier. Just put it to D tier.
Okay.
Just because I want to use it. It's just so expensive. You could literally just buy an MP9 if you're CT side, or you can buy a Mag or a Nova.
Didn't someone in Team Spirit use a Negev not too long ago?
I think it was like Nerds. I think that he just got 2 kills recently. Or Kixon. I forget who it was. Someone literally just got 2 Negev kills.
So this one is interesting, especially if compared to the USP, right? Because that's the 2 main starting weapons for the CT side. My preference always goes to the USP, but that's kind of just based off of like feeling and my sense of that the accuracy of the USP is better, but I'm not even sure if that's true.
Yeah. So the stats are really neck and neck. Honestly, I'll just put both of them to S tier with the USP being ahead of it very slightly.
Wow. S tier even.
Yeah, pretty much because you'd want to have a USP or P2K compared to most of the other weapons on pistol round just because of how strong it is and their accuracy and everything like that. And the P2K is obviously really strong. You see a lot of players that do use it. I've used it for a super long time. I think Shiro uses it as well. Like there's a couple players that also prefer using the P2K. It's better when you're running. It has more bullets. And a lot of times silencer really doesn't matter. The reason why I like the silencer is a little bit better is on rounds that aren't pistol rounds. So if I'm ever wanting to do something kind of sneaky and I'm on an eco round, so I'm hiding in a corner, as soon as I shoot with a P2K, they instantly know where I am. Whereas with the USP, I have a higher chance of getting off 2 or 3 shots where I can actually get the double headshot, as opposed to the the P2K. If I don't instantly tap and instantly kill him, then the chances I get that guy are way lower. But the USP has a little bit better accuracy when you're standing and crouching.
Would you say that the increased amount of bullets you have warrants like spamming through smoke a lot more with the P2K compared to USP if you're in a pistol round and smoked off?
Oh yeah, 100%. It's a lot harder to spam with the USP.
Well, the next one is then the choice to whether buy or not, at least the T side you said a moment ago, P250. Is this mostly for you a pistol round buy, or is this something that you would generally get? And how does it compare to the other ones?
Honestly, I'd put it to A tier. I think for 300 bucks, it's really, really strong. It's one of the main things that you'll see people drop on T-side pistol rounds because you're able to have that one-shot potential, and then you have the potential of getting kills on CT side. If you need to get extra nades and you don't have enough money to buy a 5.7 or a Deagle, then you'll see people buy the P250 for only 300 bucks. It's really, really good.
Right.
And you can dink body shot.
Fair enough. Yeah. Do people still buy a P250 for someone else with armor and then like combine it and stuff like that?
Yep.
Okay.
People do that on T-pistol round all the time.
Okay, makes sense. The P90, the only submachine gun with a absolutely horrendous kill bonus, I think.
Yeah.
Would you ever buy this gun?
No. So pretty much the P90 and PP-Bizon, since they're right next to each other, they're both a D tier, just mega crap. Never gonna buy those guns. P90 is just crap because $23.50 to buy it and $300 bonus. It's just not better than the S tiers. PP-Bizon, same thing.
Yeah.
It's just more expensive for no reason, and it's worse, and it shoots slower, and it does less damage, and it's just bad. Like both of them are just bad. You'll never use them.
Yeah, I feel like this one, maybe I'm presumptuous, but putting the sawed off in the D tier as well.
D tier 100%. It's just crap. Well, first of all, why are you buying a shotgun when you have that money? You might as well just buy a Mac 10 or a Tech 9 or a Deagle.
Yeah.
Like I would rather have any of those guns over a sawed off. And if you really wanted a shotgun, just buy a Nova.
I honestly wanted to put a sawed off tier like here, but I thought maybe that was a little bit too rude. Yeah. So the SG553, this is the T-side version of the AUG, right?
Yeah, it's pretty much the T-side version of the AUG. It's $300 more than the AK. I would put it at the top of C tier.
Top of C tier.
I mean, you could just put it in C tier. It honestly doesn't really matter. Just put it wherever. Put it behind the knife.
No, that's true.
It's super niche. It's very similar to the SCAR when you would ever want to use it. Maybe nuke T side, maybe overpass T side if you know you're going to go long and you're going to hold long the whole round. It's just not good compared to the AK, and it's more expensive and it shoots slower. The only thing it has going for it is it's more accurate and it has a scope. So if you're playing super long range, then it has some chances to use it.
Where would you use this as a T side on nuke then? Is it if you're on silo or trying to go outside?
Yeah, honestly, only silo. Because if you're on the ground, you might as well just have an AK.
This one is my fan favorite, the SSG-08 or the Scout. I love this gun. My teammates always tell me to never buy it because you can't one-shot with it, but
if they don't have armor and you body shot or dick shot them, then they actually will die.
That's
one
true,
shot.
that's true.
But the Scout is obviously A tier. I think it's really, really strong. You can just win around by just poking people down, and people that are really good with the Scout, like Prime Fallen when he was just owning everybody with the Scout.
Yeah.
I think I'm also really good with the Scout. Anyone that can just get all of those shots and be super annoying with their movement. You've probably seen a little bit less of it because maps like Train aren't out there anymore.
Right.
But it's still so good.
My experience with the Scout as well. First and foremost, your movement speed, the Scout is so much higher than with the Op, so you can do more crazy like peaks and movement with it.
Yeah.
And also, I feel like the Scout gets better the longer the round takes. If they take any utility damage or someone sprayed down and their armor is a bit hurt, then suddenly it turns into a better version of the Op against the opponent.
Yeah, even if you're the one that's doing the tagging, if you just tag a couple people and your teammates have Eagles or 5.7s and they only need to body shot twice or just a single body shot, the chances of you winning is really high. If the other team rushes the other site, then obviously you're not going to get any value. But if the other team's doing a slow round, then you'll get a ton of value out of it.
Okay, so the Tech 9 is one of my favorite guns on the T side to buy. So comparing to pros, apparently it gets bought a lot less. You guys just buy a P250?
Honestly, I would say A tier. I think that it's just really good. It's on the same level as the 5.7. The Tech 9 versus the Deagle on T side, it pretty much just comes down to whatever strat is called. If you're calling a really fast-paced strat and you're not really gonna have any time to work stuff, or it's gonna be a lot of close range duels just from whatever strat is called, the Tech 9 is really, really good.
And the strategy is just you just keep moving and use that first bullet accuracy while running to just try to get a headshot. But I'm not sure how you would approach it with it.
I think that you can use the Tech 9 anyway. I think it's good if you really had to hold something, or if you're like kind of mid to long range. If you just crouched and you try tapping somebody, you can get kills with it. Like it's really good.
All right, the last three, the UMP45, which I think back in the day was used a lot, but now due to again the Mac 10 and MP9 is probably probably fallen out of style a bit.
Yeah, I would say that it's B tier. I don't think it's better than the Mac 10 or the MP9, but I think it has some niche situations. It's kind of just a slightly worse version than the MP5 and MP7, where it has better accuracy long range. It has a very easy spray, but it just shoots slower and it doesn't kill as fast compared to the Mac 10 and MP9. So that's why no one really uses it. The only person that I've seen using it recently is the guys on VP, but I think that the Mac 10 and MP9 are just better.
The XM is a rather contentious one. So I'm around 12, 13K premier rating, right? And this rank, I'll be honest, people's aim is not good enough that the XM feels really overpowered because you just point it in the player's direction and you one-shot or two-shot them and they don't always headshot you. More often than not, on maps like Nuke and Vertigo, I've seen people top frag spamming the XM. Now...
I mean, I would say it's A tier. I think that Simple, for example, started using it a ton last year, and SDY also was using it. It's just really good. It just does so much damage. The kill reward is really good. You can just lock down those little choke points so well with XM. Simple, you would even see him when he was still playing on Navi. He would just buy an XM and just go Balk, and he'd play Halls on Inferno, and he would just have his Halls player just go somewhere else. For my positions, I can't use it as much because I play a little bit more rotatey, longer range spots, but whenever I can buy a shotgun, I usually will, honestly.
Do you think that it's underrated by a lot of players? Because a lot of players hate on shotgun players. Just
I mean,
kind of a
shotgun players, nobody likes them, but they're really good. Nobody likes shotgun players in any game. If you use a shotgun in COD, Valorant, CS, just nobody's really gonna like you, even though it's a good gun.
Well, we're at the last, and the one that got recently changed, the Zeus. Do you think the change to a 30-second cooldown and stuff made it a lot better?
I haven't really explored too much with it. Kind of debating, is it A tier, is it B tier? I wouldn't really use it on pistol round the way that Ace has been using it, but the thing is it's not that bad either, because when you're determining I'm gonna drop dualies, and then I have $200 left, is a flash really gonna be useful on a pistol round? So the Zeus buy is not bad. I think the main benefit of that is just that you don't lose the Zeus. I don't really think you're gonna Zeus someone in a round and then you're gonna go somewhere else and then Zeus again. I think that'll be extremely rare. I think I'll probably put it into B tier.
B tier, okay.
Yeah, I think it's honestly OP is my opinion of it, but I'm not gonna put it to S tier just because you're not gonna use it that much. But I think that it's broken, and the reason being is that they not only did all that stuff, but they changed it where you can never do 70 damage. It's either the Zeus hits and they die, or they don't get hit and they don't die. Do you know when the Krieg and the AUG got changed, people didn't really use it in the beginning? I obviously like swapped instantly to those guns. I think it's at that kind of level. They did a big change to it, and I think that it's really, really strong. Stronger than I think people are giving it credit for.
Well, maybe once we see it a lot more in the games, Valve's gonna quickly change it if it has too much impact.
We'll see. We're gonna need a lot of people to start using it, which I don't want to happen. It's not very fun to die to.
No, that's fair. That's fair. It's like the shotgun, right?
Yeah, like it seems like a meme if you die to it, but I don't know. I think it's broken.
I remember during patch day where if you shot with it, the other players could hear the recharge timer, the beep.
Yeah, you can hear it, yeah.
Wouldn't that be a major detriment? Say you kill the player and you kept your Zeus around. What if they hear you, right?
Yeah, they can. But you can also use it as a play where you just drop it somewhere and you fake that you're in a spot where you're not.
Fair enough. Okay, I think we got it all. This is ELiGE's CS2 weapon tier. This, at least with the current patches. I think we have a pretty complete package. Way more in the S tier than I thought even.
Yeah, at least this is how I would do it. This is my tier list, so that's how I'm going to categorize it. And I think it looks good. Make sure you guys like, subscribe, and let us know in the comments exactly what you'd like to see in the future. See you in the next one.